I'm often asked questions about Indian music and Indian instruments. So to make things easier for you, I've compiled a list of frequently asked questions. Question number 1. Is your tabla spiritual? Drum roll, please. And the answer is no. My tablas are not spiritual. Yes, Indian instruments can make music, and some of the music that is produced is spiritual, but the instruments themselves are not spiritual. They really are purely material and functional. Frequently asked question number 2. Does Indian music contain quarter notes? And the answer to that is, drum roll please. No. Indian music does not contain quarter notes. Middle Eastern music contains quarter note, but Indian music uses the chromatic scale. Frequently asked question number 3. Do you need to practice over 10 hours a day? And the answer to that question is, drum roll please. Yes and no. Let me say something about that. If you really wanted to master an instrument, of course you practice as much as you wanted to. But I don't know anyone that practices 10 hours a day. I certainly don't. And I think that's one of the myths that stop people from learning to play Indian instruments. And I don't know where that myth came from, but you don't need to practice 10 hours a day. Frequently asked question number 4. Do you need strong fingers to play the tabla? And the answer is, drum roll please. No, you do not. Now, it looks like you do, and in fact, my fingers are probably stronger than normal because I've been playing tabla all my life, but you don't need strong fingers to play the tabla. Tabla is all about technique, not about strength. If you were to watch a drummer or a conga player, most likely they would be sweating and doing a lot of this. Forgive me for saying that, but that's probably the case. But watch a tabla player and it's more about this. It's a localized hit and it's more about hitting the drum at the right place. You don't need to be super strong or even slightly strong to play the tabla. Frequently asked question number 5. Are your tablas authentic Indian cooking pots? Drum roll please. And the answer is, no, they are not. They look a bit like pots, and maybe in the old days when they were made of clay, they were used for other purposes as well. But really, back home in India, we don't eat dinner and then play on our pots. Instruments and dishes are in separate departments altogether. Frequently asked question number 6. Are Indian instruments very expensive? Well, I don't have the answer written on these drums, but I have dedicated a whole episode to the price and price ranges of each of the Indian instruments. So please refer to that episode. Frequently asked question number 7. Do you have to be taught by a guru? And the answer is, no, you don't have to be taught by a guru, but yes, if you're somebody who'd like to take the traditional route, commit to a lifetime of coaching from one particular style and one particular tutor or coach. Frequently asked question number 8. Do your tablas contain water? Now, I have actually been asked that many times, and it's understandable why, but let's look at the answer first. And the answer is, no, they do not. But it's easier to think that they might do because of the sound. It does sound a bit like a jug of water, And there is something called a water drum, but it's not this. So there you are. No, they do not contain water. Frequently asked question number 9. Can Indian music be notated? And the answer is yes, it can. Now let me say a few things about that. A sitar solo or a Bhangra song or a Bollywood song can be transcribed. And what I mean by that is it can be notated, it can be written down just like someone's taking a dictation in a way. So somebody who's orchestrally trained in writing Western notation could transcribe a performance, but I don't think there's a lot of use in doing that, apart from analysing it from a Western point of view. But having notation written of a piece that's already performed is probably of no use, especially to a performer, because most performers, in fact all Indian classical performers, are composers in their own right, and they're playing their own expression of a particular raga or piece. So there's no need to write it down. However, I have recently, and this is an unashamed plug, I have recently began to create a tableau notation system which I hope will allow Western musicians and current tabla players, whether they're Indian or not, to play in a Western environment by actually following a notation system. And I think it's important that repertoire for tabla is written. And what I mean by that is that there's someone called a composer who will, for example, write a piece for me that I will then play by reading that. And I think that will be a good thing. So yes, Indian music can be notated, and Indian music should be notated.